On Monday morning, my phone started to explode. Panicked voicemails, one after another. The email servers were down. The entire manufacturing line had stopped. Payroll couldn't be processed. The company was paralyzed. And me? I sat on my couch, listening to the chaos unfold, and for the first time in a long time, I smiled. My revenge was simple. I did absolutely nothing. If you have ever felt undervalued, disrespected, or thrown away by a boss who had no idea what you were actually worth, then you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe, because this is a story of how one man's quiet, calculated inaction brought an entire company to its knees. This all happened a few years ago. I was the IT manager for what started as a small manufacturing company. When I say small, I mean it. When I walked in the door for the first time, there were maybe 20 employees. When they walked me out for the last time, there were over 150. And the digital blood, sweat, and tears that fueled that growth, that was all me. I built their entire IT infrastructure from scratch. I'm talking servers stacked in a cold room that I designed, miles of network cables I ran myself, email systems, firewalls, security protocols, everything. For years, I was the IT department, a one-man army keeping the digital heart of the company beating. The company was owned by two guys, Bob and Steve. Bob was the CEO, the slick salesman, the face of the company. He was always on the road, whining and dining clients. But I reported to Steve. Steve was the COO, the numbers guy, the one who ran the day-to-day operations. And Steve was a problem. He was a walking Napoleon complex, a short, insecure man whose only way of feeling powerful was to make everyone else feel small. He was a micromanager of the highest order. He'd stand over your shoulder, publicly criticize your work in front of your colleagues, and then a week later, present your ideas in a board meeting as his own. To Steve, employees weren't people. We were disposable assets, like paper clips or printer toner. For 10 years, I tolerated it. Why? Because I loved the work. I took immense pride in watching a system I designed handle 100 new employees without a single hiccup. The company was my baby. I built its central nervous system, and I felt a fierce ownership over it. I even convinced them to let me hire a junior admin. But the architecture, the core knowledge, the master keys to the entire kingdom, that was all still in my head. The beginning of the end started innocently enough. Steve hired a director of operations, a buddy of his named Greg. Greg was a professional sycophant. He had 0 qualifications, but he was an expert at telling Steve how brilliant he was. Greg saw me instantly as a threat. I knew where all the skeletons were buried because I had installed the closets. He started a campaign of 1,000 paper cuts. My reports would get lost on his desk. He'd question my server upgrade proposals in meetings, making it sound like I was wasting money. He'd whisper to Steve that I was being uncooperative or not a team player. I saw it all happening, but I was naive. I thought my decade of loyalty, my flawless track record, and the fact that I was the only person on Earth who knew how to reboot the primary server without crashing the whole network. I thought that made me untouchable. I was wrong. It was a Friday afternoon. The clock was ticking towards 5. Steve and Greg called me into the office. I remember Steve wouldn't even look at me. He just stared at a spot on the wall behind my head. Greg did all the talking. "We're restructuring," he said with a smug little smile. "Your position is being eliminated. Your services are no longer required." Just like that. 10 years of my life, erased in a 5-minute meeting. They had my final paycheck printed and ready. A security guard, a guy I played cards with on lunch breaks, was waiting outside the door to escort me from the building. I wasn't allowed to go back to my desk. I wasn't allowed to grab the picture of my dog or the coffee mug my sister gave me. Just out. The guard, bless his heart, looked genuinely sorry as he walked me to my car. He said, "Man, this ain't right." He was right. It wasn't. The drive home was a blur. The initial shock felt like a physical blow, leaving me winded and empty. But as I sat in my driveway, the engine ticking as it cooled, that emptiness began to fill with something else. A cold, hard, calculating fury. They thought I was a disposable part. They thought they could just unplug me and plug in someone else. They had no idea. I wasn't just a part of the machine. I was the architect, and I was the only one with the blueprints. In their arrogance, in their utter disrespect of my role, they had never once asked me to document the master passwords, the core system configurations, the kill switches. It was all in my head, and my head was no longer on their payroll. My revenge was beautiful in its simplicity. I did nothing at all. I walked into my house, cracked open a beer, and turned off my phone. I knew what was coming. The entire company was a series of digital time bombs, all set to go off on a regular maintenance schedule. And I was the only person who knew how to disarm them. I just had to wait for the weekend to be over. Monday was coming. On Monday morning, 8:05 a.m., my phone, which I had just turned back on, began to vibrate against the coffee table. It didn't stop for the next 48 hours. The first call was from my junior admin, his voice cracking with panic. I let it go to voicemail. "Hey man, it's me. The email server is down. Completely down. No one can send or receive anything. Call me ASAP." Then another, a production manager. "The main manufacturing line is dead. The control software is firewalled, and it's asking for a root password we don't have. We're losing thousands of dollars every minute. Call me." And another, the head of HR. "I can't process payroll. The financial software license expired or something. The system is completely locked. People aren't going to get paid." And then the one I was waiting for, the CO. "Bob, this is Bob. We have a catastrophic failure. A serious problem. Call me immediately. Forget what happened. We'll pay you whatever you want. Just call me." I sat there on my couch, a fresh cup of coffee in hand, listening to the symphony of their self-inflicted destruction. And I smiled, a wide, genuine, satisfying smile. So, what had actually happened? It was simple. The main server was scheduled for a security update that required an admin password to proceed. Without it, the system security protocol did exactly what I designed it to do. It assumed a breach and went into a total secure lockdown. The financial software license? It was tied to my admin account, which I had remotely disabled from my phone before my car had even left their parking lot on Friday. No account, no license. And the passwords to the core network infrastructure? They were 32-character, randomly generated strings of absolute nonsense that were stored in a single, encrypted file on my home computer. They were paralyzed, blind, deaf, and dumb in a digital world I had built for them. They brought in an emergency IT consultant firm, a team of high-priced experts. After 3 days of crawling through my beautiful, impenetrable fortress of a system, they delivered their verdict. It would be cheaper and faster to bulldoze the entire IT infrastructure and rebuild it from scratch than to even try and crack my work. The estimated cost, I later heard, was over $500,000, not counting the catastrophic loss of business from an entire week of being completely offline. After a week of silence, I finally answered a call from Bob. He sounded like a broken man. He offered me a consulting fee that was more than my yearly salary to come in for just 1 day. I let him finish. Then I said, my voice calm professional, "Bob, I would love to help, but according to your partner Steve, my services are no longer required. My position was eliminated. I'm sorry, but I don't work there anymore." I paused, and for the final twist of the knife, I added, "I am recording this call, by the way. Any further contact from you or your company will be considered harassment." And then I hung up. The company never really recovered. They lost their biggest clients and their reputation was shot. A year later, it was sold for parts. I never wanted to destroy the company I had built. I just wanted to show them what it was worth. And more importantly, what I was worth. Sometimes the best revenge is to just step aside and let people drown in the mess they created for themselves. The best part? My new job paid me a huge bonus just to document all my work, because in their words, they'd heard horror stories. If this story gave you a chill of satisfaction, do me a favor and smash that like button. Tell us in the comments, what's the most satisfying "I quit" or "you're fired" story you've ever witnessed? And of course, subscribe for more tales of epic, professional revenge.